Good morning, Todd and Carly. President Trump is closely watching the protests in Iran, so much so that he's set to meet with administration officials tomorrow to talk about next steps. The president, who has promised to respond forcefully if Iran resorts to mass violence, suggests the country is close to crossing his red line. The human rights activists' news agency says at least 500 people have now been killed.
These are violent. If you call them leaders, I don't know if they're leaders or just they rule through violence. But we're looking at it very seriously. The military is looking at it. And we're looking at some very strong options. We'll make a determination. Iran wants to negotiate, yes. We may meet with them. I mean, a meeting is being set up. But we may have to act because of what's happening before the meeting. But a meeting is being set up. Iran called. They want to negotiate.
The Wall Street Journal reports the U.S. options are not limited to just military strikes. Officials are also expected to consider boosting anti-government sources online, deploying secretive cyber weapons against Iranian military and civilian sites, and placing more sanctions on the regime. So far, the Pentagon has not moved any forces in preparation for military strikes, which could be necessary in case Iran does retaliate against U.S. troops in the region. Iran says U.S. military bases, ships, and other assets will be considered potential targets. But Al Jazeera reports this morning, per Iran's foreign minister, internet could be restored soon as the country tries to project control over the situation. Connectivity would reportedly be restored to embassies and government ministries.
Firelight, flames igniting icy night, crimson glow in frozen land, heat wave from a warlike band. Boots on snow and steel in hand, burn through ice with brutal brand. Hearts of winter melt away, no place left for cold to play.
I love when Jerry's in a Rammstein mood. This is good, Jerry. Well done. It's not exactly the topic of the show today, moving target, but President Trump has announced that he is planning a special forces invasion of Greenland. Yes, you are living in that timeline. You are living for the first time in your lifetime, or mine, inside of an empire, inside of an America First nation that actually has a sense of being, that isn't just treading water. You are living inside of a country that puts itself first and wants to be the master of their own domain and hemisphere. And that is a good thing. You're seeing that on multiple fronts as Iran collapses, the regime hanging on by a thread. Venezuela now, I guess, is like the 51st state. President Trump posted that he's the president of Venezuela yesterday in a Wikipedia article. I'm not sure exactly if it's accurate. I don't know if Wikipedia actually has this up, but it's pretty kick-ass. President Trump saying, I am now the president of Venezuela, saying that Marco Rubio is going to be the president of Cuba. He said that over the weekend. And, of course, Donald Trump making sure that all of our European allies know that Greenland is and must be ours. So, yeah, this is what it looks like to be in an expansionist, strong nation that cares about its own future, that cares about dominance in its own hemisphere. This is what it feels like being in a superpower. Yeah, pop it up, Klein. You can pop that. You can throw it up, bro. You throw it up, bro. Look at this. Trump, no comment. Acting president of Venezuela. Is this true? Is this actually on Wikipedia? I don't think so. I mean, we'll see. Donald Trump posted it up. And, I could talk for the next, 50 minutes about why I want Greenland and how awesome Greenland is. I mean, Klein, they're going to make us go to Greenland, aren't they? They're going to make us go to Greenland, won't they? Can somebody on the team, Danny or ALX, can somebody grok, how far is it to Greenland? We're in Florida. How far what is that flight? Like, is that a long way? Like, can somebody, where would we even fly into? I know the biggest city is Nook. I want to go set up a Trump store in Nook. I think I'm going to do it, actually. I think we're going to go there after we go solve California fraud, which is the topic of the program today. Here comes Killer Klein. 3,000-mile trip. Okay, 3,000-mile trip. So not bad. Is there a direct flight? Is there like a direct flight? I don't know. Okay, commercial flight would be about 7 hours. Nonstop theoretical flight would take about 6 to 7 hours. Average jet speeds, but there are no direct flights. Okay, we could figure it out. Take Trump Force One. Charlie took Trump Force One to Greenland. We'll ask Eric Trump today. Okay, let's rock and roll. Today is Monday, January 12th, 2026. Nothing but piss and vinegar today. Tim Walz is resigning. Little birdies tell us that Nick Shirley is about to drop the banger of all bangers, and that it is going to end the careers of multiple people inside of the Minnesota government. We have this on high authority that today may well be the last day in office for Tim Walz. He's already under several federal investigations, as is Gavin Newsom. Ladies and gentlemen, the Somali fraud scandal is going to blow up today. Get ready. Gavin Newsom completely crashes out over yours truly. What an exciting time to be alive. Gavin Newsom can't stop posting about us. And you know what? We will drink the salty tears of Gavin as we prepare to go uncover fraud in California this week. This is going to be a massive, massive opportunity to show the world exactly how you take paradise, which is California. California is the crown jewel of America. And I say that living in Florida. I like Florida a lot. I think there's a lot of beautiful places, but there's just nothing like the natural resources and raw beauty of California. It's filled with gold and oil, and truly the crown jewel of the country. And in about 60 short years, they've turned it into a third world country. That's what Democrat policies have done. About 60 short years, they have taken this place and plunged it into darkness, insolvency, and total and complete collapse. We have been going scorched earth against Gavin Newsom, setting the table for what is to come. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Speaking of going scorched earth, the Pendragon Cycle from Daily Wire is a fantasy series. Might include some scorched earth as well. An incredible story. The Rise of Merlin, a latest in an original series by the Daily Wire, a 7-part cinematic epic based on the novels by Stephen R. Lawhead. This is a fresh telling of the story, but not a woke telling of the Arthurian legend. At its center is Merlin emerging as the bridge between the old world of darkness and the new world of light. Something that is constantly happening, by the way, as the world remakes itself. Anyway, you can see the trailer on right here. Just absolutely incredible cinematography. Breathtaking. Who needs Hollywood anymore? This world comes vividly to life. Pendragon Cycle on Daily Wire Plus. Starting January 22nd, 2026 exclusively. You can watch the trailer now at pendragonseries.com. It's up on the screen. Again, looks as good as anything out of Hollywood. Hollywood is in major trouble. Did we mention that we'll be there this week? Okay. Top Minnesota GOP rep says Tim Walz will be leaving in handcuffs. Here's some of the breaking news off of the top line today. We know, again, little birdies tell us, I'm just checking in here to see some of the commentary. They are polishing up and getting ready to launch the single most devastating investigation that will make the Quality Leering Center look like child's play in Minnesota. Nick Shirley has the goods. And now local reporting is showing that Nick Shirley is going to force the resignation of Tim Walz. Now, Tim Walz can't admit this. He has to effusively scream and rant and rage and, behave like a complete tampon over this report. But there's only so much one man can do when the full weight and force of the federal government is collapsing upon him. So let's go ahead and listen to Tim Walz. Just backstopping all this, major local reporting, Major independent reporting saying that Tim Walz will not be able to survive his full term. We do have inside knowledge on this. We can report this. What is about to happen to Tim Walz today is going to be a career ender. Minnesota is in a state of total and complete collapse. Some of our friends were attacked yesterday. ALX, if you got that, let me know if there's a block in the script. Otherwise, just grab me some of that from Nick Sotor and Cam Higbee. Were attacked in the streets yesterday. Minnesota is teetering. Tim Walz asked, are you going to serve out your term? Are you going to resign? You already dropped out of the gubernatorial race. That was a huge humiliation. Are you even going to be able to survive the next couple of months of your term? Here we go.
Their idea of improving this state is being a parrot for Donald Trump, agreeing to everything that he agreed with. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. It ain't happening. I'm not going anywhere. And you can make all your requests for me to resign over my dead body. Will that happen? I will fight this thing till the very end to make this state better. And the question that I think they need to decide is when did the guy in the White House resign? When does he take accountability for what he did? Because it isn't going to happen here in terms of us shying away from making this.
Yeah, okay, over my dead body. There's this great clip, ALX. It's from the same press conference that Tim Walz announced that he was resigning. It was on January 6th. And I find this absolutely fascinating, the cognitive disconnect here. You know, it's called cognitive dissonance. It is a psychological phenomenon where you can hold two competing ideas in your mind at the same time, and you can believe both things which are antithetical and approxied to each other are true. And this is what I'm talking about right here. Thank you, ALX. This is Tim Walz's first time answering to the cameras why he's dropping out of the race. And he's so panicked by it that he starts screaming about January 6th. It was January 6th. Okay, that was the date. It's just a couple days ago. But Tim Walz, when asked, like, there's all this grotesque Somali fraud. You're being investigated by the Department of Justice, Department of Labor, Small Business Association, HHS, the DOJ, the Treasury Secretary was here all week. And I don't know if we have anything from Bessett, but Bessett was on a warpath in Minnesota. It was really something else. He blocked all wires out of the country. If you're getting welfare and then you take that welfare and you send it out of the country, like, how dumb are we how stupid are we as a nation? How weak? What bitches are we if we just, like, allow some immigrant, some parasite to come here and then to accept money from our treasury and to immediately wire it out of the country? What does that say about the state of our welfare system and the massive reforms that it must take? Because it's like a double insult. That money, at the very best explanation for this, is that, like, somebody's really needy and, like, now they can eat. The next best explanation is, hey, if they don't even need it to eat, at least they'll spend it here in our economy. The worst possible explanation is this is a foreign parasite that is taking that money, sending it abroad to go fund Islamic terror against America, which is exactly what happened with the Somalis. Breaking news from Just the News this morning, the federal government has caught a bunch of Somalis with $700 million worth of cold, hard cash in their suitcases at the Minneapolis airport. I know that was breaking at time of recording here, and I'm asking for a lot of assets and building the show live, but there's just been a lot going on in Minneapolis that would facilitate and necessitate Tim Walz resigning. Okay, so we're doing the weave here. We're doing the weave. Here is Tim Walz saying, no, January 6th, it's really, really bad. January 6th, really bad. Who cares that I am dropping out of the race and there's all this Somali fraud and they're catching, low IQ, mentally handicapped IQ level Somalis with bags of hundreds of millions of dollars at the airport. Pay no attention to the Quality Leering Center, January 6th. It's like an incantation for these people. It's like a shaman. It's like an incantation, it's like a spell that they cast on you. Listen to this.
Governor, what decision to end your campaign by yourself, or did you receive pressure from Democratic allies?
This is a decision that I make and make with my family. And certainly, I think, as I said, it's the right decision. I'll note, I think it's appropriate we're here today. The war that's being waged against Minnesota, you're seeing it. We have a ridiculous surge of apparently 2,000 people not coordinating with us that are for a show of the cameras. I'm going to note to all of you, today is January 6th. There's no debate what happened. The President of the United States led an insurrection against a fair election to try and overturn that and, report both sides of this. Well, he said he really didn't, and courts convicted 400 of them, and he pardoned them. No, he did that. He did that, and that's today. And it's clear that we also saw today he implemented 5 states are being punished with a freezing of federal funds illegally that were appropriated by Congress, our tax dollars.
So Tim Walz announcing his humiliating resignation from the gubernatorial race. We hear again that he is going to resign his office because of the weight of the full federal investigation against him from multiple branches of the federal government. Minnesota is effectively a inoperable state right now because the federal government has taken away all of their monies, all of it. Everything from HHS, everything from DOJ, everything from the Department of Labor, that's unemployment benefits. It's all frozen. It's all shut off. Effed around and found out, man. But then he says, listen, I just want to talk about how duplicitous this style, because Gavin Newsom's doing the same thing to us right now. It's wild. What this level of gaslighting, how easy it is to destroy it. Okay, so here's the game. Tim Walz has been trained like every Democrat, like a Pavlovian dog. You ring the bell, they start to drool. Whenever you're in trouble, scream January 6th. Okay? Scream January 6th. Okay? Your wife turns on the light and you're cheating, scream January 6th. Whatever it is. Okay? The cops catch you with a couple bodies, bloody body bags in the back of your trunk, scream January 6th. It is the get out of jail free card for any lib, for any Democrat. So because Tim Walz knows he's completely effed, he just starts screaming about January 6th. And he starts talking about how Republicans are the ones who attacked federal law enforcement and how important it is for Democrats to defend federal law enforcement. Almost like God has the greatest sense of humor, which he does. Fate loves irony. Within hours of Tim Walz saying that, a federal officer is nearly slaughtered by one of Tim Walz's paid activists in Minneapolis. A white lesbian woman who is being egged on, and we have actually new body cam footage of this that we haven't played on the show yet because it popped on Friday. This white lesbian, angry, professional activist is being egged on by her partner to drive over and slaughter an ICE agent in Minneapolis. And here's the footage from the guy's body cam. I actually believe it was sort of like a cell phone that he connected to, potentially a cell phone, right, that he'd connected to his vest. But you can see here in this critical footage, and we don't have to play the whole thing, you can see him get out. This is the perpetrator. Her name's Renee Good. Is that it? Yeah. But then this is the critical moment. So the ICE agent comes up, tells her to get out of the car. She's blocking all ICE activity. She's impeding in a federal government activity. That's, of course, illegal. She's blocking all their vehicles. And the ICE agent comes around here. I'll play the full clip for you, but I just want to get to one critical moment. This is what I believe is her partner, who tries to get into the vehicle, then eggs on Renee Good to run over the ICE agent. How do we know that? Because you can see here at the very end of the video, I'm sorry for jumping around here, but I just want to find this freeze frame where she locks eyes with the ICE. Again, this is from the perspective of the ICE agent. This is where the cell phone is, right here. This is his chest. And here she is with the car directly in front of him, and she floors it. She's locking eyes with them. You can see it. You can see the whites of her eyes. She's staring directly into the man's soul, directly down the barrel. Sorry for the yelling. It just makes me enraged. And then, of course, in the clip, you can hear, unmute, please. You can hear the car actually physically hit the agent. We'll just play these last couple seconds here.
I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the
All
car.
right, Whoa!
There you go. You can hear and see the collision of the camera. There's the ICE agent's face as the car hits his body so severely that the camera actually jostles and jumps. So there you go. Got to charge, by the way, this individual with attempted murder as well. You got to charge the wife or the partner here as well, because she goes, "Go, baby, go, baby, go," as soon as she sees the ICE agent in front of her vehicle. Sorry, man. Not going to work out for you. So this is something that you assume, sorry to belabor this point, but you assume that somebody who's sitting there screaming the January 6th incantation, January 6th, January 6th, that they'd say, well, this is patently a attack on federal law enforcement. I just talked about January 6th and how I support federal law enforcement, and so I'm going to clearly come out in favor of federal law enforcement. So is that what's happened here? Again, fate loves irony, hates hypocrisy. I'm going to prove that in just a second with Gavin Newsom. Fate loves irony and hates hypocrisy. This is hypocrisy. If they believed the line of bullshit that they're trying to sell here about January 6th, then they would, of course, be in favor of the ICE agent in that scenario. They would have said, you tried to kill an ICE agent with your car. This is what happens. You effed around, you got shot. That's what happens. When you tried to murder an ICE agent, I defend law enforcement because I just yelled about January 6th. Obviously, this is something that is congruent with my worldview. But no, they don't do that. They're marching through the streets. They're attacking federal buildings in Minneapolis. They're trying to burn the city down. Unfortunately, you cannot create your George Floyd moment here with a white woman. You're not going to be able to do that because the racial hierarchy, the intersectional racial hierarchy, doesn't allow for it. In fact, you've even had activists talking about how they feel guilty protesting for a white woman. This is how much they have. This is how much self-loathing they have, which is from the devil. Self-loathing is from the devil. Worrying is praying to the devil. Thinking you were born in the wrong body is worshiping the devil. That's what it is. God didn't make a mistake when he made you. God made them male and female. Don't believe the lines that are being sold to you from the left because, again, they lead to very bad places. Antithetically, they are just against creation. They're against God's sovereignty in creation and creating you as someone very special with a purpose and a meaning in life. And God didn't make a mistake in making you. And whatever you're suffering from, whether that's drugs or alcohol, whatever you're trying to do to try and or should I go get a surgery and change my gender? No. Do I need to go and become an activist and get myself killed? No. There's a greater purpose for you in life. Stop fighting God. But they can't reason beyond that. The cognitive dissonance goes like this. January 6th, really bad. But now I'm going to attack federal law enforcement myself and hope that they get killed. Great job. Okay. Cognitive consistency is saying that all attacks on federal law enforcement are bad. The rioters, most of them were Antifa and BLM rioters who were disguised as MAGA. Maybe some of them were feds, the ones who actually fought the cops on January 6th. We've always said, don't fight cops, don't hit cops. We don't care. Don't attack federal law enforcement. We've been the ones who are consistent. When given the opportunity for Democrats to fight or kill federal law enforcement, they cheer it on. So that's the difference. What about journalists? Remember Jimmy Kimmel? You remember when we helped get Jimmy Kimmel ripped off the air? Put in time out? Very excited, very, very still proud of that. One of the few actual consequence culture moments that ever happened in Hollywood. That was not self-inflicted. That was inflicted by us in a show of power and cultural strength. You remember how they screamed that this was an attack on journalism? Well, that's exactly what they're doing now. They're attacking journalists. Here's some of the footage from our friends. Nick Sotor was on the show just for last Friday. He nearly got killed last night. They were taking frozen water bottles and chucking them at the vehicle that they had rented. Got smashed in. Dude should have rented a Cybertruck. Am I right, ALX? ALX. Am I right, ALX? Would those water bottles have done anything against a Cybertruck? No way, bro. Nope. Nope. This is what they did to our friends. Show me more clips. Yeah. This is Nick Sotor. This is them. They're getting stopped and attacked. This is false. This is false imprisonment. This is Cam Higbee and Nick Sotor. This is false imprisonment. This is illegal. Obstructing and blocking a roadway. Attacks and threatening. You're not allowed to do this. They're blocking them from leaving or moving. And thank God that they peeled out and were able to get away. And as far as I know, nobody was actually hurt. I think, is this the footage of them like actually zipping along? Okay, there you go. Good for you. This is what you should do in this scenario. They seem to be acting very responsibly. They pulled forward and then zoomed away. Get the hell out of there. This would be Nick Sotor driving, I believe. But yep, there they go. They would have killed him if they could have. If they could have gotten their hands on him, they could have killed him. Every one of them needs to be arrested. Every one of those protesters needs to be arrested. And what's this here? Attacked again. During the attack, federal agents deployed massive amounts of tear gas and pepper balls. So it's actually the federal agents that were deploying this. Yeah, but Minneapolis in a state of total and complete collapse. And who are these people fighting for exactly? Somebody tell me that. Oh yeah, they're fighting for the Somalis, who could not care less about them, wouldn't even step over their dead bodies. Somalis come here with bags of cash. We now know this. Here's the report, just the news. Now, hundreds of millions of dollars caught at the Minneapolis airport. TSA flagged daily 99 times larger than the cash going out of New York's JFK and Minneapolis. Flagged nearly $700 million in cash leaving Minneapolis airport in the last 2 years, believed to go directly to Somali immigrants, their country, and you know where that goes, Boko Haram, into radical Islamist terrorism. Here we go. Here's a report.
Cash transfers. There are Somali couriers who come to the airport almost daily with $1,600,000 in cash and a luggage. That sounds a little suspicious, right? It was going on daily, and they were moving about $350 million a year in cash in their luggage out of Minneapolis airport, and then traditionally or predominantly overseas. One of the routes that the TSA saw the money go, it would go from Minneapolis to Europe to Dubai, often through Amsterdam. It was flagged for years. TSA was flagging these payments for years. They grew from $20-30 million a year to $350 million a year the last 2 years, 2024 and 2025. It was literally a foreign ATM taking cash out of the United States to foreign destinations, and we don't know the reason why. But that is now under investigation by the FBI and HSI. And people say, well, is this normal?
No, it's not normal. Let me answer that for the great John Solomon. And by the way, let's get John Solomon on the show. Let's see if we can't get John on the show. Such an awesome reporter. Let's see if we can't do a full, detailed, deep dive into that. We have Byron Donalds coming up here in just one moment. Ladies and gentlemen, quite a bit to digest and to take in right now from the news cycle, but things are going exceedingly well in the first week of Trump. The way Trump's moving, the way this movement is cooking, it's an exciting time. And we're a part of it, and it's exciting to be here. Speaking of cooking, just really fast. When you're cooking in my house, you're going to be eating some masa chips, baby. That's just it. It's just a matter of fact. Byron Donalds from Florida, he hasn't been over for dinner yet. So I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, if Byron likes masa chips. But I can tell you this, that Masa sent a box of chips to our house, and our neighbors stole them. We don't live in a thieving neighborhood. But what I mean by that is like my wife, like there's like major back orders right now. And my wife just straight up like gifted them the box. And it's like, here you go. You can have it. These are the best chips in the world. My wife is extremely picky. She does not like slop being fed to us. All the more important that she is a big-time Maha influencer. Was at the Maha, that was chilling with RFK, and more to come on that. We have some fun projects with RFK that we're going to be doing. Nonetheless, this is Maha approved. No seed oils. Totally organic. Corn, salt, beef tallow, boom. That's it. That's all you got. That's all you need. Tastes delicious. You feel great afterwards. Give masa a try. Go to masachips.com/Benny. Use code Benny for 25% off your first order. That's masachips.com/Benny. Code Benny for 25% off your first order. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have inspired a Gavin Newsom crash out. We inspired a Gavin Newsom crash out. And I don't want to delay Byron's hit here. I know Byron's set and ready to go. I just want to touch on this like really quickly. Gavin Newsom has been nonstop posting about our show because we announced last week that we are heading to California. In that time, we have an email. Please email us, fraud@bennyjohnson.com. The number of emails that have come roaring into the inbox, thousands and thousands. Some of those leads we have followed up. We read every single one. Some of those leads we have followed up, and hot damn, do we have the mother of all frauds that we are going to go out and uncover. We have been going hard on the research and has been burning the midnight oil, as they say. These are complicated networks of fraud. They try and cover this stuff up. NGOs, shell games. There is direct connection to the Democrat mafia in the state. The corruption is endemic. It is strip mining and defrauding the California and federal taxpayer. Yes, they have found billions of dollars in fraud in Minneapolis. That's like a day's work for California. This kind of stuff is happening at scale. And when you actually are able to pull the data, find the truth, send the FOIAs, get the lawyers involved, force them to turn over their books, which we have, then you are going to be astonished at what we have found. We're heading out to California this week. We've made no bones about it. We don't have to play the clip, but like this is just, you know, last night on Fox News, we were previewing all of this on Fox, and Gavin Newsom's little press account has been psychotically posting about us to the point of put up the last one, please. To the point of the fact we had to like roast back. We had to absolutely like go scorched earth. Made us the not top trending topic in the world this morning. Our little fight with Gavin. That escalated quickly. Hot damn, man. Gavin's got some problems, and we are going to be heading to California. And before we bring on Byron Donalds, I just want to say thank you. We have a full research team at this site. We have full production capacity. We are going to be taking all of the energy from the show, and we are going to be delivering biblical results on fraud in California. We'll be joined there by some incredible California patriots on the ground who have to suffer and live under this tyranny and want real change, and we are excited to deliver. It's because of you and this audience that we are able to do this. We are thankful to God for you. This is the purpose of this show and this site. Ladies and gentlemen, expose the darkness, and the light shall set you free. The truth shall set you free. It's going to be a incredible week. Joining us now, first guest of the week. Couldn't think of anyone better than one of Gavin Newsom's arch enemies, Byron Donalds, running for governor of Florida. Live now. He's hustling, man. He's just hustling. You ever seen that Gavin Newsom clip? He's just hustling, man. Gavin Newsom goes on a black podcast, like with some NBA players, and he like talks about how he grew up hustling and eating Wonder Bread. mac and cheese. You ever seen that, Byron?
I saw it once. Nobody really believes it. I mean, it's just that's who he is, man. It's funny when you said I was like his, I guess, arch enemy or I don't know, arch nemesis or something. Made me sound like Batman, so I'll take it.
Yeah, the Daily Show went and pulled a bunch of clips of me talking about how much I love Batman, and I was like, well, okay, like guilty as charged. You guys did your research, but like, thanks for being fans of the show. This is like a good metaphor. And here's another clip for you, Daily Show, actually. But yeah, you can put it up, Clint. You can put it up. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, like, dude, you guys are gonna devote like 5 minutes to roasting me for liking Batman. Okay, I mean, it's like fine.
Does anybody even watch the Daily Show anymore?
No. Actually, the most views this clip's gonna get is because we reposted it. Like it was a dead clip. Like my producer sent it to me this morning. He's like, "This is actually pretty funny."
I mean, when you said it, I was like, I forgot I didn't even know they were still on. So
I don't even know who the host is. Hold up. There we go.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So okay. We got some real issues here on a state level. I don't think anybody's ever there's been a lot of focus on the federal government. Maybe we can like zoom out the Tim Walz, Gavin Newsom stuff. There's always this focus, and you're part of a branch of the federal government right now. And everyone's always banging the pots and pans about the president and about the various cabinet secretaries and so on in Congress. A considerable amount. In fact, the things that affect your life the very most happen on a state level. No matter who you are in America, and where you choose to live is actually the federal government has much less effect on your life than your locality that you're in, your town, and then your state government. And that's why I think it's such a great focus on Minnesota and California right now, because it is the state level that changes the lives of people in Minnesota, California, New York, and so on. You agree with that, Byron?
No, I totally agree. That's the way the framers intended it. They wanted the federal government to have limited powers for issues that the states themselves could not deal with. This is why border security is the purview of the federal government. This is why foreign policy is the purview of the federal government. Coining money or the creation of dollars is the purview of the federal government. But many of these many issues really are the responsibility of state governments and local governments, the governments that are closest to the people. So examining these fraud issues in Minnesota and now what you're revealing in California is critically important. I remember it was my first term in Congress, and there was a roundtable discussion with faith leaders from different parts of the country. And what these faith leaders said, it was just a roundtable discussion. They said that we keep hearing about all these programs that come from the federal government, but people weren't feeling them. And actually through these discussions, what you began to realize is that people on the ground weren't really being able to access these programs, but the money was still going out the door. A lot of this does stem from when federal money goes into state coffers for the disbursement of these aid packages, where you'll have federal money mixed with state money, and they're supposed to go to these organizations and these programs. We're already seeing in Minnesota, it was actually going to buy land in Kenya and Turkey, and then also to end up in the money changing networks in Somalia. And I would argue you're going to find the same thing in California, if not more. And I would really argue that there's this type of systemic fraud happens throughout too many states in America.
Yeah. So what should happen to these governors? There's a lot of rumors out. Nick Shirley's going to release another fraud expose investigation. It's going to be devastating today. I have some inside tips on what it's going to include. I'm just not sure how someone like Tim Walz survives all of this. Should he resign, Byron?
Yeah, he definitely should, in my opinion. I mean, I know it was a nice notion to say he was not going to run for re-election, but here's the truth, Benny. He's not running for re-election because he knows what happened under his watch is terrible. And I will also add, it's not that the fraud was occurring under his watch, it's that his administration was retaliating and threatening the whistleblowers. And we have that in testimony under oath from members of the Minnesota House Assembly. They testified that the workers were being retaliated against when they were trying to bring the fraud forward so it could be cleaned up. And it was Governor Walz, his Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and many others in that administration.
Yeah, what did you learn in that hearing? I know it was a long hearing. There were some viral clips out of it. I'm not sure if there was a classified element to that or if there was something that happened just with the members of Congress, but could you summarize what came out of that, other than the criminal referrals to the DOJ?
Well, it wasn't a classified hearing. The information given is completely open. What was talked about in detail was that the Department of Human Services in the state of Minnesota was responsible for administering the programs dealing around daycare centers, an autism program, other programs supposed to help needy individuals in the state of Minnesota. What was happening is that you had these people who were creating these sham companies, these essentially empty storefronts, where there were no kids in daycare, no kids getting autism care, no people getting meals that were supposed to be handed out, and they were taking this money from general federal funding and also pandemic era funding. And instead of distributing this money to people who were in need, they were pocketing the money. They were buying real estate, flying on private jets, getting designer clothes, sending money back into Somalia and other parts of the world. I mentioned buying property in Kenya, buying property in Turkey. This fraud has been going on for quite some time, several years, during the entire administration of Governor Walz. What also came out in the hearing is that the state employees in the Department of Human Services were trying to get the fraud under control, and they were met with resistance and retaliation from the Walz administration. They were being told that they better not try to blow the whistle like this other person who got fired, or they would be met with the same fate. They were being told that they would be blackballed from any other future work in government operations if they left state government and tried to go into counties in the state of Minnesota. They were told their careers would be ruined. Some of them were told, we know about your children, we know about your family, this is not going to end well for them as well. I mean, really grotesque mob-like stuff coming from the Walz administration. And so it's the latter is the reason why Tim Walz is not running for re-election. There are many state employees. There was actually a letter I submitted for the record into that hearing, and the letter was detailed examples of the retaliation from the Walz administration against these state employees in Minnesota who were trying to bring that fraud to light, into the sunshine, like you were just talking about in California, and then wanted to make sure that fraud was ended. The vast majority of this is in the Somali community in Minnesota. And the reason why this is important is because the Somali community in Minnesota is very tight-knit. Not a lot of people come in and out from other aspects of Minnesota's population. And so this is where Nick Shirley's video comes in. When people are on the ground talking about it, you get a lot of people who are saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I never saw anything. I've never seen kids go in there, but don't talk to me. Very close-knit community covering it up. And the Somali community, in part, the people who were engaged in the fraud, they were making political donations, and they were actually threatening the administration, saying, if you try to close us down, we're going to say it's because you're Islamophobic and because you're racist. And they were also organizing votes for Tim Walz and other officials in Minnesota.
Yeah, the whole you're Islamophobic and you're racist lines, like, it's not 2022 anymore, bro, right? Like, this is just patent fraud, and we just don't care where you come from. But it is particularly insulting that people who have just arrived in this nation are making out with 10, 15, $50 million worth of fraud, and a lot of that money is going back to Boko Haram in a suitcase. Has anybody ever explained to you, Byron, why America needs hundreds of thousands of Somali migrants? Is that no. What is that exactly? As governor of Florida, would you fight that? Would you say, like, hey, this is incompatible with Western civilization? To have third world migration, like to have like endless, unlimited, infinity third world migration?
No, I totally agree. It makes no sense. We don't need that in Florida. No state needs that. And this is really the fault of the radical left Democrats. They want wide open borders. They want mass immigration, whether it's illegal or legal, coming from third world countries, because what they're trying to do is have people who are dependent on the largesse of federal programs so that they have future voters. Let's just be very clear. That's what this is about. They want people who are relying on Democrat promises so that Democrats can continue to have political power in the United States. So they don't care about the budgets of these various states or the federal government. They do not care about the cultural and political cohesion of the United States. They definitely don't care about assimilation, which is the biggest problem. Benny, this is one of the reasons why for 15 years in politics, I've been opposed to chain migration. America should go back to a quota system on immigration where we stipulate how many people are going to come in legally, and I stress legally, from various countries around the world. The United States, listen, we're a great country. People come here and they've done wonderful things for themselves and for their families. But when you have wide open immigration, wide open illegal immigration, with no real ability to control that, coupled with a welfare state, what you create is a disaster. This is what's happened in most of the European countries. Wide open immigration, welfare state, and it has systematically destroyed the political framework of a lot of those countries. We cannot let that happen here. And I'll go a little bit further than that. People need to go back and go on YouTube, look up Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman, Nobel Prize winning economist, he talked about this incessantly back in the 70s. And he said that America is going to have to choose. You can either have wide open borders or you can have a welfare state, but you cannot have both. If you have both, it will lead to the political and cultural unwinding of your country. I do not believe in wide open borders. Quite frankly, I don't really even totally believe in a welfare state. I think there are people who at times in life, they do need help. Like my mom and I, when I was very young, there was times my mom needed help so she could get back on her feet. And I think as Americans, we believe in helping out our fellow American if they're in need. But these never-ending, unwielding welfare states, coupled with wide open illegal immigration like under Joe Biden, and even chain migration, which is legal under federal law today, which needs to change, that is not going to help the future of America.
Yeah, the Hart-Celler Act is arguably the worst piece of legislation ever put forward and passed in Congress. What a curse on us by our grandparents' generation in 1965. It's terrible. Maybe rolled back a little bit by Tim Burchett here. I know your strong ally and friend in the House. I know that you two have a great working relationship. He demands Ilhan Omar's immigration records immediately. Do you agree with this House Intelligence Committee subpoena for Ilhan Omar's full immigration records?
Yeah, and I think House Intel is the proper venue for this. Number one, House Intel, their hearings are typically not open, frankly, to other members of Congress where they become political and do all kind of other stuff. But I think this is very important. And here's why. If her naturalization into the United States was fraudulent, then she's ineligible to serve in Congress. It's just that simple. And I think we need to get to the bottom of that. And I think before people want to say, oh, well, this is just political. No, it's not. Number one, I think Representative Omar, she's been clear about where her allegiance lies, and it's not to the United States. She's on the record saying this multiple times. Yes. Number two, if you have people who are basically defrauding our naturalization process, they need to be removed from the country. It's just that simple. And I think people want to play politics with it. That's not the case. These are the same. This is what we would do in our own homes, Benny. You were talking about the masa chips earlier. I heard you. And yes, your wife is a wonderful woman. First of all, let me tell everybody watching the Benny Show, Benny is actually a very good father. You know, he plays with his kids. He holds them. He changes diapers. He's a good father. He's a good dad. But you don't just invite everybody into your home. And if they lie about how they got into your home, I mean, Benny's a little bit of a softie, but his wife is not. She would remove them immediately. If that's the rules for a house, it's the rules for a nation. Those are the rules for my home. It's the rules for anybody else's home in America. We have to have the same rules as a country. People can't lie and defraud their way into your home. And if they do, you remove them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There are actually multiple people awaiting federal trial right now who have tried to get into my home and weren't invited. And they left in handcuffs, and that's just the role of any head of the household. And I'm very happy to be testifying against them quite soon in federal court. And so my question to you is, will any of these governors leave in handcuffs? Tom Emmer has said that, predicts that Tim Walz will leave his office in handcuffs. I mean, Tim Walz is facing an onslaught of federal investigations from what is conceivably every single department an administration official that could have any nexus in Minneapolis. You're talking about the Department of Agriculture, Labor, Small Business. You have the Department of Justice and Treasury. the FBI, HHS, Homeland Security, all of them looking into Minnesota, many of them doing full halts and freezes of funding for Minnesota. It's an inoperable state at this point. Do you believe that Tim Walz will leave office in handcuffs?
It's very possible, and here's why I say that. It's one thing to be incompetent. I think everybody in the country views Tim Walz as somebody who's incompetent. I mean, he even said to himself he's kind of a knucklehead sometimes. He said that about himself. I think everybody views incompetency when they think about him. But this is more than that. When you're intimidating whistleblowers in your state, now that is where you get into the realm of conspiracy. And if you are now conspiring to keep the fraud going, in my view, yes, you should face criminal charges for that.
Okay, so criminal charges, Nicolas Maduro. As governor of Florida, you would be overseeing one of the largest populations of Venezuelans outside of Venezuela, and one of the largest populations, I think the largest, without question, the largest population of Cubans outside of Cuba.
Yeah.
There's practically as many Cubans in Florida as there are in Cuba. And the president and his administration is now going hard against Cuba and the Castro regime. We traveled to Cuba, man. That door is ready to be kicked in. That country is on the verge, absolute total verge of collapse as well. But as the governor of Florida, you'd have some major potential instability. You might have a lot of celebrations in the street and so on. I mean, when the Cuban regime falls, it's going to be it's going to be a state holiday here in Florida. Certainly in the city, in the neighborhoods where I live, where there's a lot of Cuban refugees. What would be, what is your take, your thought process on sort of the Don Roe doctrine that is happening right now in South America?
Well, first of all, the Cuban regime being allowed to exist this long is really not just an affront to the Cubans in Miami and in Florida who have been desiring peace and liberty for their family members, and frankly, justice for family members who did not make it out of Cuba, who were killed by the Castro regime, whose property was stolen. That's one thing. Number two, it's really an affront to the United States because it's really been a haven for Russia and China in our hemisphere, 90 miles off of the coast of Florida. And so I think the Cuban regime falling in Cuba is definitely in America's interests. I think for the people who might be concerned about instability, my response to you is, so you would desire the stability of Russia and China having a foothold 90 miles off the coast of the United States? That doesn't really sound like something that's helpful to us. So I would rather have the regime fall and then we figure out what's next than the regime be emboldened and allowed to continue and undermine the United States so close to us, and also continue to rob the liberty and freedom of the Cuban people on the island of Cuba today. Number three, I would say that with the president getting rid of Maduro, which was the absolute right thing, what's going to occur now is that the oil that was used to go into Cuba and also go to China and Russia, it's going to put a real stranglehold on Cuba economically. And like the president said, I believe last night, it's in their interest to come in and make a deal and figure out where we go from here. But I will say with unequivocally, I want to see a free Cuba. That is something that is long overdue. And if you're going to talk about the Monroe Doctrine or the Don Roe Doctrine, it is in the interest of the United States that we have neighboring countries who are allies to us, period.
How many Cubans are in, can you ask Grok, how many Cubans are in Florida? Yeah, how many Cubans live in Florida? It's got to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people of Cubans.
It's easily hundreds of thousands. Could be more. I mean, you better ask Grok, don't ask me. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I will tell you, if that regime falls, oh man, there's going to be parades from here all the way through the summertime. It will be a parade every day, especially in Hialeah, Florida. There'll be parades every day.
1.6
million? Okay, yeah.
People of Cuban ancestry in the state of Florida. So a considerable portion of the Florida population is Cuban, and you will be running for governor of that population. What is your message to them on your stance when it comes to regime change in Cuba?
My stance is clear. I stand with the people of Cuba, and I stand with our Cuban citizens here in Florida. That regime should have fallen a long time ago. That regime is a microcosm of how communist policies and socialist policies can not only just destroy a community, a society, or a state, it destroys the very well-being and fabric of cultures and families. And that's what's occurred when Castro came to take the power. And one of the things that's always disgusted me, you have young people in the United States wearing Che Guevara t-shirts, not understanding how brutal and crazy, frankly, that individual was, how many people he slaughtered, how much property was stolen from the Cuban people. I stand with the Cuban people. We want to see regime change. If that came and Donald Trump brought that as well, man, look out. Florida, you think Miami-Dade is red now, just look out. It's going to be a good, but it's going to be a good thing because at the end of the day, Benny, like, look, forget the politics. This is about people living to be free, being able to keep their money, keep their assets, pass it on to their families, live in harmony and peace, and not have a government that is outside its powers persecuting you just because you have a different point of view or because you won't bend the knee to their dictates. That's what everybody wants, whether you're Cuban, American, or anybody else.
Some people saying this might win Trump the Hispanic vote. What do you think?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I don't doubt it.
Would you be in favor of extending Miami-Dade County and Palm Beach out to Cuba?
No. We're going to live within our borders.
Okay.
Cuba needs to have elections of their own
Just
for the first time in 80 years. They need to be a country standalone for themselves, seeking their own their interests, free from a dictatorish communist regime. What we want to do is be great partners with what the next wave of leadership in Cuba looks like, and so we can have mutual cooperation, mutual respect, and then whatever economic interests that we share is for the betterment of Florida, the betterment of Cuba, and for the betterment of the United States of America.
So few people understand exactly how critical Florida is to controlling this region, how many of the operations actually are take place in Florida or are staged in Florida, how very little of this could be even possible without Florida itself. And the leadership here, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Byron Donalds right here. He's got millions of subscribers on X. I'm feeling that number is going to 10X. Byron Donalds running away with the governor's race. Just in closing here, Congressman, what do the polls look like right now?
Polls are very strong. We're up about 40 points on just about everybody. And that's a good thing today, but we still have a lot of work to do. For the people of Florida, I need your vote and I need your support. Would love to really be able to count on that. And our mission is simple. Florida is the best state in the union, the best state in America. We are the crown jewel of the United States. And my goal as Florida is for us to remain in that position, not just over the next 8 years, but over the next 30 years. And there's a lot of stuff we got to do, Benny. Obviously, home ownership, insurance, property taxes, we want to eliminate those. We support the governor and what he's trying to accomplish there. But it's also about bringing new industries, new high-paying jobs to our state so our young people have a future. Look, Benny, I tell people all the time as I travel the state, my wife has a mandate of her own. Her mandate is that her sons raise their kids in Florida so she doesn't have to leave the state to see her grandkids. And that's a mission from Mrs. Donalds. And so, if it's in my house and that's what she's asking for, that's what we're going to deliver for the free state of Florida.
That's exactly right. A lot of good young energy in this state. It's where young people want to get started. It's just such a great and energetic time to be here, particularly as the collapse is happening across the rest of the nation. In California, which is so kind to give us all their electoral votes, Byron. What a nice, thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Gavin. We really appreciate that. More people moving out of California than ever before. They hit record outflows this year. Many coming to Florida.
When you get out there to California, you should take them some chocolates and say thank you. You should you should deliver it personally. I think that would go well.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk did the Gavin Newsom podcast. That was very, very interesting. We'll see. I doubt I'll get booked, but we'll see. Thank you, Congressman, and future governor of the state of Florida. Godspeed, Byron. Ladies and gentlemen, Erica Donalds probably called Byron Donalds on a Patriot Mobile device. Patriot Mobile is the world's only Christian conservative wireless provider. We talk about them a lot. They've been a longtime partner of us. They deliver premium service on all 3 major networks. It is the new year. It is the time to switch, and it is certainly the time to ensure that you lock in with a company that supports you, supports free speech. European Union is planning on banning X or fining it out of existence. A total and complete attack on free speech happening right now. and it's happening through many of your mobile carriers. A lot of these woke companies, Patriot Mobile would never do that. Their values are faith, family, and freedom, and free speech. Switching is easier than ever. Activate in minutes. Keep your number or upgrade. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny and call 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code Benny for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT to make the switch today. Ladies and gentlemen, California could make a switch to a Republican governor. Why not? We've been doing our work, making sure that we go scorched earth against Gavin Newsom. We haven't even gotten started yet, baby. Talk about scorched earth really quickly before we bring on Steve Hilton, the man who's leading the polls for California governor. Make sure that we get those polls hot off the presses here, where Steve Hilton is leading the pack. A U-Haul drove through a pack of Iranian protesters yesterday in Los Angeles. Now, what do I mean by Iranian protesters? These are people protesting against the Islamic regime. We are in favor of them. They have the sun and lion flag. This is the ancient Persian flag. These people do not want Muslim theocracy in their great and sacred land. And they are saying that Iran is not an Islamic nation. They're saying that Iran is a free people, and it was very much a paradise, actually, before the revolution that took over. Nonetheless, a truck that was bearing effectively the symbols and messaging of the current Iranian regime rammed through a crowd of freedom marchers in LA yesterday. Another horror. One person was struck. The driver was detained. Crazy clips here. You just pop a few of them up. Get Steve Hilton's take on this. It just seems like more nightmarish conditions in LA, more just dysfunction, more insolvency, more psychotic behavior in a city that is eating itself alive. California, the crown jewel of the nation, descending into madness as the people get starved out, beat down, and abused by their leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, let's change that leadership. Steve Hilton, our dear friend, the man who is the lead candidate for California governor right now, joins the show live now. Steve, welcome back to the program. All good news from your front as far as the campaign goes. Bad news for Gavin. $250 billion in fraud. Steve, talk us through this.
So Happy New Year, Benny. Just a quick reflection on your conversation with my friend Byron Donalds. I'm just thinking, how cool would it be a year from now? He's governor of Florida. I'm governor of California, and we are competing to attract families and businesses to come to our states instead of California sending them to Florida. I think that's the kind of healthy competition that will help make America truly great when you have Florida and California on the right track for freedom. So I was just excited to think about that a year from now.
Steve, well, I want to talk about fraud, but I want to talk about something that was top of my feed this morning. Other than our roasting of Gavin Newsom, that was a lot of fun and got us the #1 trend in the world. woke up to that. That was a blast. It is some billionaires in California, virtually every billionaire in California, founder, the people that make California still profitable, the people that build great companies in California, which it has always attracted smart and endeavorous people. They're fleeing. They're fleeing in mass. Maybe it's just because of my timeline on X, Steve, but every single morning, because of this billionaire's tax that would tax unrealized gains. So these guys build a great company. You get $20 billion worth of, stock, right? Because the company becomes very successful. And then California is saying, you owe us 5% every single year. And so you're having to pay billions of dollars a year. A lot of people don't have that kind of cash. Just the suggestion is causing an absolute fleeing of California, of Google founders and so many others. What would this wealth tax, billionaire's tax, which will of course become a millionaire's tax and then a thousandaires tax, what would this look like under a Steve Hilton administration of California?
Dead, buried in the ground, 10 feet under. I mean, it's just insanely stupid. and counterproductive. It captures everything that's wrong with how the state is currently run, if you look at the anatomy of it. So what is this actually? It's a proposed ballot initiative from the unions, the SEIU and others, right? The unions are saying they need this extra money that they'd get from the billionaire stocks tax because of cuts in healthcare funding from Donald Trump in Washington. Of course, it's always Trump's fault, everything. But wait a minute, we're paying, taxpayers are paying $13 billion a year in California for free full scope Medicaid for illegal immigrants, which they deny in Washington. Remember all that conversation that shut down? Oh, you can't do that. Can't pay healthcare for illegal immigrants. Newsom brags about it. That's $13 billion spent on that, which of course I wouldn't spend. So he saved that money. That's why they say they need this. So what have they done? They've put out this proposal. They need to collect nearly 1 million signatures by May, even to get it on the ballot. But they've put in this thing a retrospective aspect of it, which means that it would kick in at the end of last year, the beginning of this year. So even whether it doesn't matter whether it's passed or not, whether it even gets on the ballot or not, the huge hit to the incomes of these great entrepreneurs is so great. They've already left. Why is that insane? Because already, despite what the left say, nearly half of the income tax in California is paid by the top 1% already. So what you've already seen by this long list of people leaving, we've already lost the revenue. It's already gone. We're doing a calculation right now of the billions of dollars that they've already sent out of California just by the threat of it. It's so unbelievably insane. So all of this has to change. We've already got the highest taxes in the country. That's why families and businesses are leaving to Florida. And it's why the new businesses of the future that used to think of California as their home are not considering that anymore. It's just too expensive. Taxes are too high. You get harassed the whole time. They hate it. It's so insane. That's why I think we're going to win this year, because people can see that we can't go on like this. It really will be the death of the greatest, most beautiful and biggest state in the country. We've got to turn things around. People see that now. That's why I think we're leading.
Yes, I mean, we do call it the crown jewel. It was at one time a paradise, and in 60 years of Democrat mismanagement has been turned into a third world hellscape, and that is evident in so much data, but this is just one of my favorites. It never lies. The U-Haul ranking, exactly. California, the absolute last for like the 10th year in a row of U-Hauls leaving the state and not returning. How do you turn this around, Steve?
Well, first of all, I mean, and you contrast that with this delusional Newsom, his state of the state speech last Thursday, where he says we're a policy blueprint for the nation. And this guy's a pathological liar, apart from a total failure on every front. I put these t-shirts, we're selling t-shirts, MAGA t-shirts, most useless governor in America. That's Gavin Newsom. Here's the good news. When I'm elected and I'm there from this time next year, cleaning up the mess that he's left behind, I'll be doing a double service, obviously to the people of California, where I'm cleaning up the mess for real, but also to the people of the whole country, because I will be exposing just how useless and destructive he was as a warning to the whole of America. So the way we turn it around is, first of all, we've got to win the primary. I'm the leading Republican. Another piece of data we're releasing today, by far ahead of all candidates, including all the Democrats, on fundraising. It's a big state. You need a lot of money. I'm leading that race as well. Very important in California, especially when you've got the Democrats all funded by the corrupt union relationships they have. So we're leading in the polls. We're leading on fundraising. It's looking good. We've got to win the primary in June. Then in November, look, there's a majority for change in California. And I think we're going to turn that into an actual defeat of this corrupt, failed 16 years of Democrat one-party rule. Then you get to work. And the model here is exactly as President Trump has been doing it at the federal level, which is you control the executive branch. We'll still probably have a Democrat majority in the legislature. I'm fighting hard to elect Republican candidates there as well. But let's just assume there's Democrat control of the legislature. As governor, you appoint thousands of people to hundreds of agencies, and a lot of the pain and nightmare that's hurting every family and business, the insane climate crusade that's given us the highest gas prices and highest electric bills in the country, the harassment of small business owners like I used to be. I used to run restaurants back in the day in England, and I've been a business owner most of my life. The pain of that's coming for every small business owner, it's coming from these agencies that some of them have become nationally famous, the Coastal Commission, and all of these agencies. We're going to kick out the climate fanatics and the bureaucrats who just want to harass everybody, and put in place, if we can't shut them down, by the way, and just reduce their operations by defunding them or massively scaling them back, we're going to put in there common sense people, pro-family, pro-business, who are going to start getting rid of this incredible weight of bureaucracy and nonsense that's crushing the soul and spirit of California. So there's actually a lot you can do through that strong use of executive action. Remember, I've worked inside of a government before. I was senior advisor to the Prime Minister back in the UK in 10 Downing Street. I know how it works. I understand. And we're going to be ready on day one, just as President Trump was this time around, to make big changes in California.
So you did a press conference last week where you exposed $250 billion worth of fraud that you have found in your own independent research. Gavin Newsom says there is no fraud in California. Your response?
What a joke. You can't believe a word he says, literally. Except when he says we're number one. Yeah, we're number one in poverty, number one unemployment rate in the country. I mean, it's just number one in people leaving. What a joke. Look, here's the story of the fraud. When the Minnesota scandal first broke, that was around Thanksgiving last year. I remember going out and saying, knowing what I knew then about California, you can be sure that however bad it is in Tim Walz's Minnesota, it's 1,000 times worse in Gavin Newsom's California. That's obviously a rhetorical statement, but I said about putting numbers on that. So December the 3rd last year, we launched an anonymous whistleblower line. I mean, a big part of that Minnesota story, of course, was the whistleblowers through the years that Walz and the Democrat machine tried to silence and intimidate in disgusting ways. We've been hearing about that at the congressional hearing last week. So I set up this anonymous line, califraud.com. Since then, just over a month, we've had hundreds of anonymous tips just with our resources as a campaign. We're not in government. We don't have all of that resource. We've been following that up along with a guy called Herb Morgan, who's running for state control, a very important position in California with the power to audit every single organization receiving state money. So we looked at the tips, which really gave us a roadmap to look at categories of fraud. And they're really interesting, contracting, wage inflation in the school system, public sector pension abuse, all of the climate insanity and the hidden taxes there. Huge list of things, right? Where we then looked at the budgets for those things and the scope and scale of that activity. Then we looked at published data already from places like the state auditor. Some of these numbers, again, have become well known. 24 billion in fraud in the homelessness budget, 55 billion lost during the lockdowns from the employment department. We added all of that up and made an estimate of what we think the fraud is. That's our $250 billion number. We published that in a report called Califraudia last Monday. Now we're following up. We're getting hold of those people. We're going into the details, and we're not going to let this go because it's connected to what we were talking about earlier, which is the taxes, and it gets to that central question, which is how is it that we can have the highest taxes in the country and yet the worst outcomes on everything? The highest poverty, the highest unemployment, worst business climate. It's because of all this, because they've created this bloated welfare state. They're signing people up. They want more and more people dependent on the government, so they have them in their grip, and that's bloated the government. And the money's coming from the successful, hardworking small businesses and taxpayers, and it's going to their welfare state. And we're going to take a sledgehammer to that. And this whole process of exposing the fraud, that's what's going to give us our marching orders for how we get to tackle it and get rid of it.
Just an obscenity on the people of California that are already taxed.
Our money. It's our money.
Taxed so high. Yes. Highest gas tax. I mean, I love doing this, but to the live chat, like, what's the gas prices where you live? And, what's the gas?
$5-6. It's insane. I mean,
there are as of last week, Steve, there were 14 states. It's probably more like 20 states now where gas is below, the average gas price is below $2 a gallon. Yeah, what is it in California?
$5, $6 in LA the other day I saw. So here's what's going on there. It actually was the first policy pledge that I made in my campaign, which is to dismantle the Democrats' climate crusade, which is the reason we have the highest gas prices in the country by far. We have abundant oil reserves in California, actually. A lot of people don't know that. We have abundant oil reserves that these insane, cruel, destructive Democrats are keeping in the ground, so that right now we have higher gas prices, even though we have abundant oil reserves, than Hawaii in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And it's just absolutely insane. Who's paying the price for that, by the way? It's not the lefty Democrat climate crusaders in Marin County in the Bay Area tapping away on their MacBooks and as they work from home, pushing their insanity. It's working Californians. It's hardworking Californians driving their cars and their trucks, blue-collar workers, 2, 3, 4 hours a day. They're paying for this. And that's why my first pledge was to get rid of all of that. And my pledge in California is $3 gas. Okay? I say that on a national show, and most people, I remember I went on with Sean Hannity, and he sort of, I could see in his eyes, what's so good about that? Most of the country. I think it's right to say there are now 40 states where gas is $3 or below. For us, $3 is nearly cutting it in half, but we can get there if we just stop this insane climate crusade. And the same with electric bills. So it's just, all of this is self-inflicted pain, and the people who are really suffering are blue-collar workers, the working class. That's why the revolution we're going to have in California, very, very similar to what you've seen in the Trump era, which is the Republican Party becoming the workers' party. And in particular in California, that's going to be working class Latinos who are particularly hurt by all of this. And then you add into that their fury at the gender extremism that their kids are being subjected to in schools. You know, these are, people of strong faith and family, and they just cannot stand what is going on. So it's the economic pain, it's the insult to their values. All of that, I think, is fueling this revolution that's going to bring a big change in California this year.
Tim Walz has dropped out of the gubernatorial race in Minnesota due to the fraud investigations against him. There's going to be more of that. More bombshell video dropped today. And Tim Walz, many are saying that his political career is over. The most powerful congressman from Minnesota, Tom Emmer, saying that he will most likely leave office in handcuffs if he doesn't resign early. Do you predict the same for Gavin Newsom, given the fact that he is now under federal investigation for fraud in California? And as you said, it is done on a nation-state level. It is 10x what is in Minnesota.
And it's the corruption as well. I mean, that's why these investigations are so important. We've got very, very strong, the Department of Justice you've got some really strong Californians in there who know what's been going on. And to put from Harmeet Dillon, Bill Asaeli, the U.S. Attorney. So this is really strong action. And that's what needs to happen. And so he thinks he's all set up for running for president. And it's very interesting to me when you see the way that the media covers him. They have no interest, it seems, in exposing his actual record. And it's all about whether he's, social media trolling of the president is effective or not, and it's winning him points with them. That's how they cover him. And that's not going to last, because once we start exposing what he's done, and you have these criminal prosecutions and investigations, there's no way, people say, there's no way we can put this guy in the White House. He just has a complete inability to get to grips with even the sort of most basic parts of governing. He can't do it. Everything is a disaster. And on top of that, just has either participated in or turned a blind eye to fraud and theft of taxpayer money on an epic scale, on a criminal scale. So I don't think it's going to stop there. By the way, one thing that I've promised to do is to have a COVID accountability commission. I mean, we're not going to forget what he did in the lockdowns. And I always say lockdowns, not pandemic, because we didn't need to have the lockdowns. It wasn't the pandemic. People say, since the pandemic, it was the lockdowns that did the damage. We had the longest and most cruel and destructive in California than anywhere else, especially the school closures. Why did you have the school closures? Because of Gavin Newsom's corrupt relationship with the teacher unions. And we're going to investigate that as well. Is it the case that millions of kids have had their lives ruined, their prospects affected by what Gavin Newsom did to pay off his donors, the teacher unions. We're not going to let that slide either. So there's a lot of investigating to come on Gavin Newsom. And when I'm governor, it's going to be happening right as he tries to get going with his presidential campaign.
Yeah, remarkable that Gavin Newsom's wife had one of these, was on the board of so many of these little nonprofits and NGOs that were getting lavish government funding. They were able to scrub so much of that information. They're doing, I think, a job trying to delete or obscure from the public where all these monies are going.
There's a very important piece of corruption that people need to understand about California. That you have this thing which I couldn't believe when I first heard it. I heard it a couple of years ago, actually, when I was first getting into all this. It's called behested payments. Behested payments. It's totally legal, totally corrupt. And this is what happens. The governor can literally phone people and organizations up and said, would you please give money to this or that cause? Just ask for the money. And it's totally legal. Guess where some of that money went? Exactly as you say, to his wife's nonprofit, to his pet causes. It's so obscenely corrupt. And that's the kind of swamp of corruption that Gavin Newsom's been swimming in for 16 years, remember. He did 8 years as lieutenant governor. And that we're going to expose all of that.
It seems like California is finally at a boiling point, Steve, and you are the man for the job. Steve Hilton for governor right here. It is remarkable. We're seeing so much energy right now. There's just very, very negative energy for infinity criminal immigration, for fraud at a state level, for corruption. The American public is really zeroed in on exposing it. It's wonderful to see the Trump administration also taking some pretty strong actions in California too. That U.S. attorney there in L.A. is doing some great job.
Yeah, Bill Saley, fantastic, good friend of mine.
Yes. Okay. Well, Steve, we look forward to seeing you this week.
Yes.
We're going to be out. We're going to be out and working on everything. I'll give you a call today, and we'll talk through what we have planned.
See you soon.
Godspeed, Steve. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have good news, even more good news. DHS is deploying hundreds more federal agents to Minneapolis. Oh, yeah, that's right. This is not Trump Term 1.0. Trump Term 1.0 was like, we'll let the net left set the narrative for us. Trump Term 2.0 is we will set the narrative for ourselves. This is a wonderful piece of news. It needs to be a show of force. The rioters in Minneapolis are already failing, but let's deplete their resources even further by making sure that the feds surge resources into that godforsaken hellscape of a city. Here's Christine Nome on it.
What more can your officers do to stop the agitators? Obviously, so much has happened. It's hard to know what's true here in terms of people getting shot.
Well, Maria, we're sending more officers today and tomorrow. They'll arrive. There'll be hundreds more. And in order to allow our ICE and our Border Patrol individuals that are working in Minneapolis to do so safely. We're going to continue to, if they conduct violent activities against law enforcement, if they impede our operations, that's a crime. And we will hold them accountable to those consequences. So unfortunately, when you don't have the partnership of the city, Mayor Fry and Governor Walz have been very clear that they're going to continue their rhetoric. They're going to continue to put criminals and corrupt illegal aliens above the people that live in that city and in that state. They've said they're not going to help us, so we'll make sure that we protect our officers, but we also follow through on making sure these criminals are brought to justice.
Why are you allowed to pay a protester to break the law? Shouldn't we have an law enforcement through the federal government that tracks these things down? What happened to the Act Blue investigation? What happened to these things? This is one of our biggest gripes, quite frankly. We've been very public about it, is we want these investigations to be fruitful. We know it takes a long time. We get it. But Act Blue is such an obvious criminal organization and funnels money to paid protesters. None of these people would be out in the streets were not for payments from some of the most wicked and corrupt organizations on earth. We're going to name them and shame them here in just a second. Hey, Alex, can you please make sure that you grab the No Kings did a disbursement. They did a report where they are forced to disclose who their donors were. And I want to be able to read the name. I want you to hear exactly who is funding the destruction of your nation. Here we go. Trump saying it's paid agitators that are destroying our country. Fact.
It was highly disrespectful of law enforcement. The woman and her friend were highly disrespectful of law enforcement. You saw that. They were harassing them, were following for days and for hours. And I think, frankly, they're professional agitators.
But just disrespect.
And I'd like to find out, and we are going to find out who's paying for it.
But just disrespect.
With their brand new signs and all the different things. But these are professional agitators, and law enforcement should not be in a position where they have to put up with this stuff. What that woman and what her friend and what their other friends were doing to law enforcement, not just ICE, law enforcement is outrageous.
Here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Your No Kings criminal protest exposed. $300 million from Arabella Advisors. This is the Democrat dark money group where you launder probably taxpayer dollars into left-wing causes. Warren Buffett, $16 million. A great shame and curse on his name. Warren Buffett, such a left-wing liberal, such a grotesque individual. He clearly like uses capitalism and then feels guilty about it, becomes obscenely rich based on America, and then just like most of these men who don't have any stature or are called into guilt, you call it white guilt. Warren Buffett now feels guilty about his success, so now he's funding the destruction of the nation that brought him that success, pulling up the ladder, slamming the door. It is utterly immoral, despicable. Ford Foundation, extreme left-wing foundation created by the Ford family, using the Ford name, but no connection, as far as I know, to the actual car manufacturer, meaning this is not the car manufacturer running this. This would be the Ford family and their fortune. Same with the Rockefellers, Soros, and the Tides. Sickening. Where are our Republican billionaires, man? This is what needs to be created. A Republican billionaire ecosystem where we can do the same thing. We're working on it. Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump was in rare form last night on Air Force One, flying back to Washington, D.C. It was pure gold. And before we get to our solid gold moment here, Advantage Gold is the gold company that we have trusted in order to get our portfolio up to all-time highs, gold at all-time highs. There is going to be some instability in the world as the world is remade. And what does that mean? That means that people are cashing in on the single asset that has withheld value since the dawn of time, since the age of Christ. Gold. You can swap your 401k, IRA, or any retirement account into an account backed by physical gold and silver. Advantage Gold is America's #1 precious metals companies. I'll show you exactly how to do it and make sure that you have a golden future. This powerful IRS-approved strategy is 100% legal and 100% smart, and get started today. Text Advantage Gold by texting Benny to 85545 right now. That's BENNY to 85545, and you'll instantly get a gold investment kit. Don't wait. The gold rally keeps breaking records as it did this morning. Text Benny to 85545 right now. Okay, here's President Trump. Alex tells me this is a hysterical clip where he nukes CNN on Iran. Let's go.
Which options have you been briefed on? Are you meeting with senior officials?
I'm going to tell you the.
Are you meeting with your
Am I going to really? Are you asking me to say what will they do? Where will we attack? When? And at what angle will we attack from?
Are you considering?
Who are you with?
I'm with the U.S. White House TV pool. I'm wondering, are you being briefed on options? I'm with CNN, sir.
Why don't you just say I'm with CNN? She says I'm with the White House pool.
Yes.
And I say, what? You're with CNN. You're with CNN, you're with fake news. Because CNN is fake news. Go ahead, give me.
Around takes your threats seriously.
I think so. Don't you think so, CNN? Don't you think so?
Wouldn't you say that they probably do at this point? After going through it for years with me, being hit, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, the Iran nuclear threat wiped out, don't you think, and then you just had Venezuela, don't you think, she says, CNN, do you think they take your threat seriously? Wouldn't you say they do after all of the things we've done? What a stupid question. Go ahead.
That's what I'm saying. Watch how Trump's moving in the new year. Watch how Trump's moving in the new year. Trump says that Greenland's entire defense is 2 dog sleds as he pushed U.S. acquisition of the territory. Since we started the show with a Greenland meme, why not end with a Greenland Trump clip where President Trump says that the U.S. must acquire Greenland, not lease it, arguing the Arctic territory lacks defenses and warning that Russia and China will move in quickly if Washington does not, critical of U.S. and NATO security. Speaking to reporters on Air Force One, he was asked about Greenland, whether the U.S. has made an offer to acquire the territory from Denmark. Here's Trump's response.
Have you made a tangible offer to Greenland yet? Have you made an actual offer to Denmark?
I haven't done that, but Greenland should make the deal because Greenland does not want to see Russia or China take over. They don't go there. It's very far away from Greenland. And Greenland, basically, their defense is 2 dog sleds. Do you know that? You know what their defense is? 2 dog sleds. In the meantime, you have Russian destroyers and submarines and China destroyers and submarines all over the place. We're not going to let that happen.
In the meantime, are you going
And if it affects NATO, then it affects NATO. But, you know, they need us much more than we need them. I will tell you that right now.
Mr. President, are you going to increase the amount of military bases?
That's a war that should have never happened with Ukraine.
The UK and Germany are discussing plans for a joint NATO mission to protect Arctic security in Greenland. Does that change your calculus at all?
No, look, we're talking about acquiring, not leasing, not having it short term. We're talking about acquiring.
Does that require
And if we don't do it, Russia or China will, and that's not going to happen when I'm president.
Are you going to increase the amount of military bases on Greenland in the meantime?
But we have bases on Greenland. Yeah.
Are you going to do more?
We put a lot of soldiers there right now if I want, but you need more than that. You need ownership. You really need title, as they say in the real estate business.
If Greenland's not ours, what is Denmark going to defend it against China? How is that going to work exactly? Denmark's going to defend this massive island that is 17 times, I think 17 or 20 times bigger than Denmark? How are they going to do that? With this incredible access to the Arctic Circle? No. No, baby. And Trump sees it clearly, and he sees a great future. This is the first time that America has been moving like a superpower, been moving like an empire. And it's exciting. It's an exciting time. One more clip about Cuba. This is President Trump's commentary on Cuba. Cuba sits not too far from where we are recording right now, where we are live in our studio right now. I would love to see the Cuban people liberated. I would love it. Here's Trump.
What kind of deal are you looking for from Cuba?
You're going to find out pretty soon. We're talking to Cuba, and you'll find out pretty soon. And one of the things I want taken care of, and one of the groups I want taken care of, are the people that came from Cuba that were forced out or left under duress, and they're great citizens of the United States right now. You have a lot of people forced out of Cuba unfairly, so we're going to take care of, most importantly right now, we're going to take care of the people that came from Cuba that are American citizens or in our country.
Iran also falling. So you have Cuba, Greenland, Iran mass protests throughout the nation. There is an internet blackout, so the clips are sparse and sparing, but millions, if not tens of millions of Iranians taking to the street, protests around the world. The time has come. Let's go ahead and check the polls. The Polymarket poll for Iranian regime collapsing before 2027 has skyrocketed. It is at a 47% chance, and the regime surviving through the end of the year is at like a 62% chance that the regime actually, that the Ayatollah is not able to, here, click on the one right adjacent there, that the Ayatollah is not able to remain in power, ladies and gentlemen. It was the top one, Klein. That's the Ayatollah. We have a 60% chance that nothing ever happens. Okay, Khamenei. We'll see. We'll see. But the markets are hinting that there is massive instability in Iran, and this is the moment. You can just feel it. You can feel that energy. They're now calling Trump, desperate for a meeting, desperate to try and make a deal, and there's been an enormous amount of U.S. Air Force traffic over the Mediterranean and in the Mideast. It seems like Trump is preparing something really big with Iran. He says he's going to support the protesters there. Reports are that many have been killed. Again, we showed you what looked like a terrorist attack in Los Angeles yesterday from somebody at least aligned with the regime. We'll see. And we'll see. But here is the certitude of your day, something that is certain this day and every day, and that Christ is King, that God is with us, and that you should be reading your Bible from Psalms 37. The wicked plot against the righteous and gnash their teeth at them, but the Lord laughs at the wicked. He sees that their day is coming. Careful about people gnashing their teeth. Careful about that. No, no, no. Move with calmness and with purpose and with truth at your side. You can accomplish anything. God is a God of wonders. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why we know that we will win. He does not lose battles. God wins battles. And in the end, we do win. It's your boy, Betty. Have a great week. See ya.
Rolling in with firelight, flames igniting icy night, crimson glow in frozen land, heat wave from a warlike band. On snow and steel in hand, burn through ice with brutal brand. Hearts of winter melt away, no place left for cold to play. Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.